Hi everyone. That's okay. There's people in the future watching this. And welcome, Mr. And I'm going to say this poorly because Flacco got in my head. Mauro Peña. It is great to have you here, Mr. City Councillor of Snowdon, District of Montreal, NDG Cotonage, part of the city candidate.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Nice to be here. Thanks a lot, Holden, for having me around, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for the time to give me.
But welcome to Bridge the Gap, where typically this is the show where we like to walk through the lives of super interesting individuals such as yourself. I would argue that running for city councilor makes you interesting. I mean, other people might not agree with that because it is what it is, but we're trying to rectify the situation. Typically, we talk to a lot more on the creative professional spheres and look for a bunch of knowledge nuggets in the experience based off of their lives. And so we're going to basically try to replicate that with here today. I've come to see politicians ain't rappers. It's not the same thing. It's a little different. But end of the day, I'm selfishly motivated to try to leverage the fact that there's no English media and participate in the process to like solve that. Because at the end of the day, every time a Montreal election rolls around, I've never heard a conversation about it. As in, not a campaign issue, not a person's name, unless there's some spicy stuff like I'll be honest, a couple of people in NDG are a little spicy right now. So outside of that kind of things, unless words like corruption or whatever are being used, if you ever hear about anything, you don't know who anyone is. You just see some faces sometimes, and then you go vote, and you're like, oh, I guess that party. You probably then you just pick name. You know, it's not a good system. And then the voter turnout rates are pretty bad, and everybody says the same thing. I don't want to go vote if I'm not informed. Touche, me neither. And then you Google and it's pretty bad because what English media is there? So here we are, and I'm trying to talk to as many English candidates, I guess, or create English media to support at least this part of town, which is pretty English. So with that, it's super cool to have you here. And yeah, what's up, little Alice in the chat. So yeah, it's super cool to have you here. And as much as I don't know how much you want to get to people to know you, but everyone else that you're going to talk to is probably going to be a little different than me. So just assume that all this other people are going to ask you a lot of things I might not, so you don't have to stress about that if you know it's a cliche question. Instead, this is the opportunity for the world to see who you are as like a person in a regular conversation with somebody that is not exactly like a regular kind of media. So with that, I'm hoping you could start us off and let us know where the story of Mauro initiates. Like, where are you born?
There you go. You said it right, actually, Mauro.
I've been trying.
So my legal name is Mauricio Peña, Mauricio in Spanish, but I go by Mauro. It's my mom gave me that nickname as a kid, and I used to not like it, and then it just grew on me, and then eventually it became my nickname. And you know, those closest to me, that's how they know me. And a couple years ago, I decided to, you know, quote unquote, take the name public. And that's just been me ever since, you know. I'm born and raised in Cotonage, basically.
Oh,
Yeah, man, uptown, you know, on Linton, right by the Jewish, you know, that's where we're from. And my parents, actually, they immigrated from El Salvador in 1979. And they went and found Linton Street, and they stayed on Linton Street since 1979. So we're going on 3 generations that are on or off, right off Linton, which is Van Horn. That's 3 generations of us in the hood.
Yeah, straight up. That's pretty big, man. So I'm just going to have to ask, since you're around there, what high school did you go to? Where'd you go to high school?
So I was not, my elder sister was at the time, influential adolescent, so to speak, with a certain crowd. And my parents wanted me not to be influenced by that crowd. So they sent me to Mount Royal High School, town of Mount Royal. So we called it affection. Yeah, we called it TMR. That's the school I went to. It's right by Kenora train station. And it was a very, very interesting experience. It was a multicultural, we had Caribbean people, we had Asian people, we had Greeks, we had Latinos. All this to say, when there were soccer games, it was pretty intense among everybody. You had to pick a side.
So, like, when you were young, what kind of stuff were you up to as a little one? Do you have any hobbies or things like that that you got yourself involved with as a little Mauro?
Yeah. So I was a very very good quote unquote kid, good a kid. You know, I had a lot of books. I went to school and back. I didn't hang out with anybody. I went to church. I did. Yeah, I had a very strict Catholic upbringing. I did my first communion and my confirmation at Saint Pascal Bellon Church. It's a big church on Côte-des-Neiges Road, right by the plaza. And I was the altar boy. Yeah, I was gonna say choir boy. I was the altar boy for the priest for years, and then I went to.
Okay, I gotta ask a question. I'm not Catholic like that. I did go to church, but I went to the kind of church that doesn't have altar boys. In like a non-comedic sense of the question, what does an altar boy actually do?
So basically, when the priest was about to do a prayer, I knew which page to turn the Bible to, and I would bring him the offerings, and I would like sit next to him. You know, I was kind of like the right hand, the left hand. I was like the number one groupie in a sort of way, you know, and that's who I was, you know, and I was that until I was about 13 maybe, and I found a way out of that lifestyle, so to speak.
What? That's fair.
The escape was my mother gave me the option. I love my mom. I love my mom. I love my dad too, but I love my mom. She gave me the option and she said, "You're going to the cadets, or you're going to the cadets." So
Say
you
where?
heard that right.
Which cadets?
You heard that. I was first. I started with the Air Cadets, Squadron 96 in Villeray. So
Okay.
every Saturday morning, I had to wake up at like 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. depending on the day, on the weekend, and I had to make my way all the way to Villeray. And there was like this school. I forget the name of the school. And in the gym, we spent our whole Saturday doing drill exercises, learning how to shoot, learning basic military stuff. And
Yo,
I
okay.
did that for
Cadets is amazing.
I did that for 2 years.
Say
And then I
where?
went to Army Cadets in Côte-des-Neiges.
Right.
Army Cadets in Côte-des-Neiges, sorry, where I I became I rose the ranks to become a sergeant, and then I had a troop of kids around me. I was a kid myself. I was 15, right?
No, cadets
was
is
a great-
serious though. Like, if anyone ever wants to invalidate it, I did cadets for 5 years. I did not. I wasn't a well-behaved cadet, and I learned the hard way that if you talk a lot of shit and you don't necessarily follow the rules and you don't do the haircut, the haircut thing, my guy, like the haircut thing with the bzz every fucking week. Whoops, I'm not supposed to swear as much on these ones. Like, it was a lot, and then a lot of discipline, and then the polishing your boot. I will never forget the polishing of the boots and the ironing, and anyway. But yeah, it is kind of like that. You get a lot of basic leadership training and a lot of citizenship. I will frequently flex about like the tiers of government and all that because I know what it means. But the only reason I know what it means is cadets because I never learned that in school.
Yeah, cadets is a great way for kids to to let out that extra energy they have, pent up, and great way for them to learn leadership skills and civic duties, and just prepare them for what comes next. I have a lot of cadet friends that ended up going to political science degrees. I have a few cadet friends that ended up finding a career within the military itself as well. It's a great centre de formation, quote unquote, for young kids.
Yeah, and you get free shoes if you go to camp, and that was cool. The camps were actually wicked. I don't know if you ever did the camps.
I did. I flew what's it called? It was a glider. It wasn't a plane. It was a glider, right? And there's a pilot in front of me.
They're so cool.
And they like a plane and they lift you up in the air, and then they just let go, and then the guy in front of you, he's like, "All right, go ahead. You learned this in class." And then you're like, Meanwhile, he's in total control, but you feel like for like 20 seconds, you're like, you got to rush,
I know one time I hit the button, like you pushed the foot pedal and the plane moved. Even if he was in control, I still pushed the button and the plane moved.
Yeah. It was fun. Where did you go to cadets? Sorry.
I went to One West Montreal Squadron, which was Westmount.
Nice.
And then after 4 years, when I was about to go for that pilot's license, we moved to the West Island, and I had to switch to the one at whatever it was, Riverdale or whatever the high school is there, 803, I think. And yo, there's a lot of internal politics in cadets. So like when you're 17, you're not competing with the people who just put 5 years in at that squadron to go to the fancy camp. Nah, it's over for you. So it was over for me. It was like I got robbed of a pilot's license because my parents decided to move.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's a great experience.
I forgot about cadets entirely, but yeah, that's a real thing that people do here.
Yeah. I mean, I'll probably send my kids if I ever have any kids there. I mean, it's a great way to keep them busy and, like I said, teach them some leadership skills, like you said.
Facts. So that's fair. So you're doing cadets in high school. I guess that eats up all your time because, yes, it eats up like a ton of time. So what like I guess happens after high school? Where do you proceed to venture off next?
So in high school, I did theater class. I was like I was an artsy kid. I did music. I was in orchestra. I sucked at it except for one instrument. I played 5 instruments. I played the trombone, the trumpet, the electric bass, a euphonium, and something else. I don't even remember at this point. So let's put 4 because those are the 4 I remember. Let's put 4. I was actually good at 2 out of 4, which was the trumpet and the trombone. And I loved playing that in music class. Like I was really, I discovered late in life I had ADHD. So, it made sense why I did so many things as a kid. And one thing that happened was I ended up doing theater at the same time as I was doing music. And that gave me like a bug to do something else. You know what I mean? I did a play called Le Bourgeois Gentilhomme. It's a Molière play. And I had like 3 roles in it because, I love doing that sort of stuff. And so, that's when I started.
You're the guy that like is like, let me be like a little set change in the back, switch your hat, come back out in the front, do the next part.
Yeah. Switch makeup, switch wardrobe, come on back. I was just in the scene. That was me, man. And I used to do also school radio. So, used to do the announcements. I was that guy,
Your school had a school radio?
Yeah, at lunchtime we used to play like reggae in the basement and everything. And like, this was like around 1998. So like DMX was hot, dancehall was coming up between 98 and 2001, 2002. It was insane, man. It was a great experience, honestly, being at Mount Royal High School.
Honestly, I didn't even know any of the high schools had shit like radio up inside of this, to be honest. That was like, say a word. That's a nifty set of experiences to get. So I guess, where does that bring you after high school then?
So that left me trying to figure out what I was going to do to, make a living, right? And I actually almost became a cop because I decided that I did an internship at the SPVM, and I was like, I'm going to be the guy that's going to go to the cops and become a police officer. I'm going to be a quote unquote good cop. And I got all excited. I shared the news with my parents, and they told me, we didn't immigrate here for you to become a cop. So I figured, my curious and rebellious side said, I'll figure something out. And I found the only other program that you could do in order to go to Nicolet, which was the cop school. And that program was paralegal technology. And that's where another chapter of my life started. And that was about 18 years ago, more or less.
So you go to paralegal school, is what I'm understanding from that.
Yeah, I went to O'Sullivan College. It's a 3-year technical diploma. And I was able to do basically what is essentially like a pre-law school class, a pre-law school 3-year technical diploma, because a lot of the graduates from that program end up going to law school. They become notaries or lawyers, or you can become a paralegal. Having no idea what a lawyer was, because, growing up in the hood, the only lawyer I ever heard of was, Uncle Phil, who became a judge. I had no idea what a lawyer was, what a lawyer did, So I went and became a paralegal. I said, I got to work. I'm 21 years old. I gotta make my own money. I gotta get my own place. I was dating someone at the time. Long story short, I did the program. I started a year at Concordian Poli-Sci in history. And halfway through the year, I realized I needed to work. I just wanted to work. So I dropped everything and I started working. And that's where the other chapter, like I said, the other chapter began. I started working right around the time of the 2008 like fiscal, like financial crisis. That's when I entered the job market. So.
And you entered the job market as a paralegal or something
Yeah,
else?
I entered the job market as a paralegal in an industry called banking and financing and real estate law, pardon me. And what that basically is we do what are called due diligence checks. So a company needs financing, they go to a lender, the lender has their legal counsel. The legal counsel team is composed of a lawyer, a notary, a paralegal, and other people. I ended up, scouring their records, looking at what property they have mortgage, hypothecated, because that's the proper term. It's not mortgage. Hypothecated. I look at their litigation cases that are pending, cases that are settled. I look at their bankruptcy status. Have they declared previous bankruptcy? Are they in good standing? I look at the same information in different provinces. So a lot of real estate documentation as well. Do they own the land? Have they hypothecated the land to another lender? I look at acts of acquisition. So if person A tells me they own the plot of land, and then I do my research and I find out, wait, turns out, but you don't own land. You're trying to commit fraud. I was the guy that basically did all that research, did that report, and gave it into the lawyer, and the lawyer, did what they needed to do from there on out for their own purposes. So that was me.
So in like a lawyer show, you're one of the people that are scuttering around in the background while the lawyers are having drama.
I was basically like Rachel Zane. Yeah. Let's put it that way. I was that person. I was like high strung, stressed out, running from A to B, one in, last one out. I worked with some great people. I worked with some very talented, intelligent people that showed me a lot. You know what I mean? And I was very fortunate because in the legal industry, people don't teach you. You're just supposed to know, and you're supposed to figure it out if you don't know. And
that's
I was
not just the legal industry.
Yeah, I know. I'm speaking from my own experience, though, right? I can't talk about other industries, so. But I hear you. It
was like my first meeting in corporate land, and it was like they walked in, and there were so many 3-letter acronyms thrown around that I didn't know a damn thing that got said in that meeting.
Oh man, I understand. I've been the person where you ask yourself, should I ask questions or should I just stay quiet?
And yeah. So I guess it's pretty practical for you to have a bunch of experience in real estate, given your party's focus on housing and stuff. That's a powerful asset to bring to the table. And you basically were running this, like, is that what you do for this whole time, or were you working for somebody and then it kind of just evolves into something else? How does the story of you progress over the years like that?
So when I started as a paralegal, I knew nobody in the industry, and I didn't know where my career could go. I felt like I was missing some guidance. I wanted to know what my ceiling was, so I did a lot of research on my own. I stayed for my first years of my career at a place that gave me a solid base, taught me a lot, and from there on out, I tested the market. I was made a lot of interesting offers. The more interesting offers came in with better conditions and more exciting roles, and one thing led to another, and I gained experience working at a big company called SNC Lavalin, where I worked in the technical department.
We pitched them a PDF. Like we did like a demo for them, and we pitched them as a PDF software. I was like doing the demo in French for them.
It was a great company. It was a great experience because it allowed me to be based in Montreal and deal with people all over the world. So, I had colleagues in Chile, I had colleagues in the States, in different states, in Miami, in Tampa, in Texas, in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, et cetera, all over the world. So I'm used to working from one location and dealing with various stakeholders spread out throughout the world. That's nothing new to me.
So he's used to remote work before remote work was cool. That would be a better way to put it.
Exactly. That's why you have the show, man.
I mean,
well put.
I mean, that's what I heard there, but I also relate to that with the international work. Like, this wasn't a shock for me. Like, I'm like, yeah, companies have been doing this since time. Like, it's like international conglomerates are just people who have a lot of remote work. But it's cool that you got the experience and that you were involved with the, that one. That's an interesting name, regardless or whatever. But you were there like early, from what I would gather by your timeline, or were you involved? Were you there during the pop run of this company?
No, I came in after, actually. I came in after, towards when they had already put in place some internal structure to prevent what they eventually allegedly did or did not do.
So let's just be clear. Because the company was saved, you benefited, and that was dope. You're one of the people whose jobs got, in theory, protected by the action and justified the defense of keeping it open.
There we go. I mean, I remember I was still working there when they were talking about it, and I was like, dude, to be honest, from an insider's perspective, and there's nothing, this is all public knowledge. These people, there was a lot of jumping ship at one point. You know what I mean? And we were just there, like, all right, well, we're going down with the Titanic if it does, but. This was after it had been in the media, but then it came back in the media. And, it was it was a learning experience. You know what I mean? In between that and the other job, I did also another job that was interesting, which was I represented TELUS at small claims court. So I would go to all over Quebec and I would be like, yes, the client in question has, owes the company X amount of money for X reason. And I'm here to represent our interests. Here's the proof. And present it to the judge and present our case. So I did that, which that's where I honed my my public speaking qualities. I was going to say activities, qualities, I guess. I don't know. My skills, my public speaking skills.
So as a paralegal, companies can hire you to show up in small claims court on their behalf.
Yeah, correct. So lawyers cannot present a company in small claims court. But they, however, can send a paralegal or another employee, like management or something, to small claims court. And lawyers can help you present your case by preparing it, but they cannot physically be there and be the one that speaks for the company, right? So that's where paralegals become handy, and they're the ones that are like, I'll go, I'll speak, I'll settle your case. So there's a lot of major companies that have paralegals in place doing exactly that type of work.
Say a word. That's a big one. I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't even know companies couldn't go into small claims court. But fair enough. So you basically then understand how to move with the sharks, and you understand the legal system of Quebec pretty well. And a lot of the sectors that are hot topics right now in Montreal. And so that's pretty practical life experience. So I guess, did you have a consulting thing? Was that also something I saw on your page somewhere? Or is that just a page for you as a paralegal?
Yeah, so that's going to actually tie in with what I'm about to say. But on the side, what I did was I had a paralegal coaching career activities. So essentially, remember when I said I started in this industry, I knew nobody, I needed guidance, et cetera, et cetera. I found guidance by joining the Canadian Association of Paralegals at a young age. And I was elected director on the board of directors, fairly young. And I did 2 mandates there. One of them was as the manager in charge of reaching out to students, and we called it the mentoring division. And so what I did there was with the help of my colleagues, I went around all over Quebec to the schools that provided the schooling, the diploma necessary to become a paralegal. And I presented the association. I talked about my career path. That gave me, more, public speaking opportunities. That gave me the ability to, and the hunger to want to do a little bit more, something different than, just sitting at a desk and doing a 9 to 5. That is essentially why, because I did that. And that also, what I mean by that was, I helped a lot of other paralegals in their career early on, and I guided them, and I mentored them. I provided them, with the, resources on where to go get work, what kind of industries we're hiring, what are everything in relation to, how to improve your career. I ended up eventually opening up my career coaching firm. I did that on the side. I did that to, make ends meet, during the early days of the pandemic, so to speak. My last client was a young lady from Florida. Her husband is from Quebec, and they're moving to Quebec, and they want to become. She wants to transfer her legal experience to Quebec legal experience, and so I was basically working with her to make her understand how can you transfer that knowledge, how can you get the most out of it, how can you maximize that experience. So that's what I did, which, again, it's, helping people, listening to their needs, guiding them, and through, experience systems that they don't understand. More of what I've always.
All right. So we understand what you do for fun, or sorry, not for fun, but like professionally and whatever. But I know that Alex Montenegro likes trains, and that's super fun. I'm super curious about some of the other sides of your life that you'd be able to share with us before we get into the part where you're like, well, I'm a politician now.
So I was a workaholic for a very long time. I was a workaholic that had to have 2 burnouts because that's all I did. I just work. And, when I went home, I worked some more. I was first one in, last one out. But after the second time around, I figured out what I was doing wrong because, burnouts aren't exactly a sign of pride. They're just a sign that you're trying to do too much at the same time, and that there's a better way of doing things. And that's when I started looking into my hobbies and reconnecting with my inner child, so to speak. And what I absolutely love the most is actually stand-up comedy. I love watching stand-up, whether it's live or whether it's in person. Whether it's in person live or whether it's on TV or YouTube. Stand-up to me has always been something so uplifting, so positive, that just makes me laugh. And it's something that, I experienced a lot of it. You know what I mean? I even did stand-up once because, I said, fuck it. I'll sorry.
Oh, you can swear. I'm trying to be all respectful so that maybe other political candidates don't brand me as incapable of behaving.
I hear you. Well, you know what? I said to myself, you know what? Try it. And that's exactly what I did. I gave it a try. And next thing you know, I was up next one night at this place called the Art Loft. And it was a beautiful experience. You know what I mean? The comedian community in Montreal is a wonderful, beautiful community full of diverse people with different stories to tell, different styles to tell them in. And, if I had to pick a hobby, one thing that I could do, it'd definitely be that, enjoying them and maybe one day going back to it. Who knows?
Mauro comes out 10 years later. Let me tell you about Montreal.
Yeah.
So I guess what made you decide? Okay, before that, how did you get to Thrive NDG? Because I know that is a thing that you're involved in because you solicited me, and I joined the group. I was solicited. I'm gonna put it out there to Thrive by Mauro over here.
Listen, we have a mutual friend, right? Flaco, and shout out to Flaco. Thanks for making this happen because, without you making this happen, without you hooking up with Holden and Holden coming into my life indirectly through you, I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be interviewing these people. So shout out to Flaco. Shout out to everybody in the BX. Viva la Mesa.
Shout out Flaco. I like to call him Flacky.
Yeah. It's funny because the world is small, right? The world is tiny, and you yourself are 1 or 2 persons removed from the local rap scene, which I myself am as well. And so we have mutuals in that world as well.
I'm pretty involved in the local scene, but but like, yes, I hear what you're saying. We definitely have mutuals that I'd probably be able to connect a lot of dots in.
I meant 1 or 2 persons removed in the sense that I think like Coolman and them. So that's what one or 2 person.
Cool man's my boy right now.
But
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. So listen, I saw what you were doing, and I thought it was great. And this was about a year ago or so. So before any of these elections happened, and I thought, you know what, it would be great to have someone that can actually interview these people that are running to make sense of all of this, because we're reading what's said in the paper. The paper is biased because of some connections that you can all easily Google for yourselves, allegedly, and so forth. But you know, it's I thought, you know, it's a wonderful opportunity to have an independent view and behind the scenes of the candidates, and that's kind of how I added you there. You know what I mean? As a member, and then you know, I think it was just, you know, it was meant to be, because, you know, you kind of said, hey, I want to interview the candidates, and I was like, oh, about that, I kind of want to do that too. So let's work together.
And then he's like,
And again,
so then this man, just so y'all know, emails like everybody and then goes, I'm out. I'm going to go run. Have fun. And I'm like, oh, thanks.
yeah. Well, it wasn't planned. That's the thing. It wasn't planned. I mean, I've always been interested in politics, municipal, federal, or provincial, and you know, the opportunity came to run and represent a district that I'm very close to, that is very near and dear to my heart, that a lot of people that I care about are in. So, you know, I said, you know, I think it's best if I remove myself from the interviewing process. And, you know, I threw out the initial ball out there, and the candidates replied, you know, and they said yes, you know, and then it's just a matter of, you know, scheduling it with them. And I'm really happy to hear that you have someone else coming along afterwards. You have 2 other people that just went on. You know,
Sue Montgomery is pretty, but not her. Yeah, well, she kind of implied in a post one time, but not her. But Annalisa said she's interested, and then I ran into this dude in the street, and he gave me this thing, which was very helpful. And I think I just put it. I don't know. I guess his phone number's fine. He's a politician, whatever. And yeah, he handed me that and said, "Yeah, I'm down." He thought I was his political opponent at first because I had made a comment about politics. And I'm like, nah, but I want to talk to y'all. I'm super interested in that. I've heard your name before. I've never met you.
yeah, well, that's Peter. That's Peter.
And so for me, it's like, yeah, I'll try harder to book more people after. But so far, I haven't had to try that hard. But I haven't really, like, reached out to anybody big yet, because you want to have some episodes out before you know, you don't want to be like, hey, and they're like, why should I talk to you? And I'll be like, well, that's a good question. I can't do the fancy stuff like the Martin guy was doing with Ballarama. I'm not fancy like that, is all I'm saying.
A little bit more low key. It's a different kind of podcast. I get it.
Well, it's more like, yeah, not as famous. That's exactly what I'm saying. I don't know how high profile these people really want to go with their life. I was like, straight up, my first reaction to this is, y'all want to talk to me? And then I realized that in some cases there's no other options. And I'm like, say a word. When there are no other options, being an option is great.
Number 1 by default.
I guarantee you there's at least, like, the first guess was like, you know what? Maybe nobody else is going to ask me this time around.
Hey, listen, that's me, so I'm here. But you know what? I'm small potatoes next to other people that are running. You know, I'm the political rookie. So
That's
you know,
fair.
you had you know, you have other people coming on. I'm sure as the campaign
I'm like
goes on. Sorry?
I'm like 0% worried about it. I haven't tried hard. I mean, I've tried so not hard that I'm not, like, stressed about it. If I had tried hard and then everyone turned me down, I'd feel sad. But, like, the one time I reached out, they said yes. I'm like, well, let's do it then. We'll just keep inevitably reaching out. But I'm also like, you know, I only have a limited slot, so we'll see how it goes. And I'm mostly interested in this part of town, to be honest, because, like, it's kind of also, like, not that helpful to cover, like, also just pick some random guy from Pineuve right now at this point. That wouldn't be, like, you know, useful for the overall mission. But why did you get involved with the Movement Montreal?
They're basically the party that represents me as a Montrealer, my experience as a Montrealer. They're a party that stands for what is right. You know what I mean? They're not trying to get caught up in the scandals of the past. They're trying to forge a new way forward. They're trying to put forth, you know, the people's issues that matter to them the most. So we're talking about gentrification. We're talking about police brutality. We're talking about, you know, bilingualism in the city. We're talking about a lot of issues that are key to the people that are closest to me. And so I found myself in this party. And it's through connecting with people, you know, and presenting myself and taking a chance and and speaking up that I got the opportunity to run in Snowdon. You know, I basically said I'd like to run in Snowdon, and then I presented my case why. And the party has its selection process, and you know, after a few interviews, eventually, you know, they said, you know what, I think you're our guy, and then they made it official, and then here we are a few months later, or a month or two later.
So now you're a political candidate going against people, as you've just said to me, that are probably more well known. That's what I deduced from what you said, that you're like an underdog in the Snowden fight. And I've seen underdogs walk around Snowden and hang up signs before, because I'm at Snowden. I think the metro. Like it's my metro, right? So like, I've watched this process play out. So I get like curious about a bunch of stuff. As a voting dude, why do I vote for a Mauro? And I don't mean it like in like the sense of what can you do. I'm starting to realize that like at the city councilor level, there's only what you can do. But like, so you're there, and y'all are basically, as I understand this, working to advocate for stuff and oversee things and all of these good things, which you have a bunch of experience in, and you understand legislations and whatever, etc. So with that, let me get into, how does somebody like you actually make a stamp in an election? And I don't mean that in a rude way. I mean that in like, if people are going to vote for you, they need to know that your campaign going to bring some heat, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, so how does one like me, like myself as a rookie, what do I bring to the table? Well, I think it goes down to who am I as an individual. You know what I mean? Christian Christian Arsenault was on your show, and he was a quote unquote rookie when he was elected, and you know he's done some wonderful things for Loyola, and I think that that him and others are great examples of what you can accomplish if you just try. So what do I bring? That's very easy. My entire professional career and life has been about being a people person, being a person that bridges gaps, being a person that, I'm the finder and the doer. I'm the one that stands up, speaks up, and says, asks all the questions. So in a sense, what you get from me is you get the person that's not gonna rubber stamp anything that comes sent his way, that's gonna ask questions when questions need to be asked, that's gonna read documentation that gets sent to him an hour before a meeting or half an hour before a meeting. I'm going to be the guy that picks up the phone when you call him, that's going to make himself available to your concerns. I'm going to be the guy that's going to use part of his discretionary fund to help out in the community in ways that I can, it depends on the situation, but, there's things that you could do.
What's your discretionary fund?
Well, basically there's a salary for a city councillor, and then there's like an expense that's attached to it, like, like a spending fund basically. And, it's public knowledge. The last publicly available information was that a city councillor makes about 54,000, and they had like 16,000 in discretionary spending. And so for discretionary spending, you don't need to, you can spend it as you like because it's discretionary, but I could use it to, help out people in the borough when they call me for certain things, you know what I mean? It's really discretionary. So it depends. If someone calls me and they tell me, I can't find food at the food bank, where do I go? What do I do? What are my resources that are locally available? Well, I could do something like say, you know what? Let's figure this out. Let's go to the store. I'll give you like a groceries worth of shopping for the week, and we'll work together to find you, emergency food solutions. You know what I mean? We'll put you on a food bank waiting list. We'll visit the NDG pantry or the Sunshine Pantry together. There's different ways that you can use that money that would impact people positively. And all this to say is that, you get with me someone that is definitely learning, has great intentions, stands up for people, is not afraid to ask questions, is not afraid to be shut down, because, I'm not there to just disagree with people because I don't like them. I'm there to produce and bring forth results, because the district has been suffering for long enough. There's no way that you can look at, the district and say it's been like this for 40 years, and every district around it has prospered. Why has this one not? And I'm the guy that knows this because I've been around long enough to know that it hasn't changed and it needs to change. So you get that in me. You get that hunger. You get that will. You're not going to get someone that's complacent. You're not going to get someone that's beholden to his previous bosses. You're not going to get someone that's going to be told, what to do. You're going to be told, I'm only going to be told what to do by the people that I work with. And the people that I work with are the people, the ones that are going to elect me.
That's fair. So you've been like walking around and doing stuff lately, and I say that because I'm trying to like watch you guys do your politics stuff, and looks like a lot of walking around. And then I was watching your Crack Street picture, and I'm like, say a word, let me contribute. And if I happen to be outside and pulled up my phone, because fielding trash right now, it's trash. And then we were like, West Side of NDG gets no love, and I'm like, it does get no love. That's true. There's not a lot of love given here. And so like with all of that, without sounding completely pessimistic to the situation, it's one thing to take pictures, but like, what do we do with that? Like, how do you like action that in terms of like bringing it to a place where you can do something with it?
Well, you got to secure the funds to change, to change things. You know what I mean? You got to come together with Borough Council and find solutions together to improve it, right? We are the largest borough. We have the largest budget. There's no reason why our roads should look the way they look. You know what I mean? And part of that gets done by working with the elected and unelected officials. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is that there's people in power that don't get elected. And whether you like these people or not, you have to learn to work with these people in order to get what's best and what's to maximize the return for the people that you represent. And that's what I'm trying to do, if elected. I'm trying to see what the actual budget is being spent on, not the Cole's Note version of the budget. I want an actual copy of the budget so I can look through the financial statements of the borough to understand and maximize the local dollars. And what I mean by that is I want to bring the spending, as much of the spending that gets done outside of the borough, inside the borough. And so when it comes to roads, let's look at who can do the roads locally. Let's look at what the solutions are in order to not just patch up, but in order to get to the source of the problem. Why are the roads on Queen Mary and Isabella, for example, why do they look like they were bombed recently and they're right next to close to $1 million duplexes? It's not, why is Queen Mary in the situation that it's in? It shouldn't be,
Yeah, they are literally selling like $500,000, $1 million homes on like Rosedale, and I cycle down Rosedale like often, and it is not a good street. I was thinking about that too. It's like, imagine that like you buy this $1 million house and the street's like wrecked. You would probably know that before copping the house, but still, like, it's just the concept of it. It's like, I live here, so I'm like feeling it, but I don't really think about it. And I think it is an interesting point that you're like, I want to go look at the budget and do what I do for a living. Like, that's a pretty good answer. What can I do? And then I suppose the rest of it is just politics and negotiation at that point.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely going to be a lot of, like, okay, well, who's in charge of this? Who makes the final call? And then, it's about building bridges at the end of the day. Like, you know what I mean? It's, those in power will tell you, if you do X for me, I'll do Y for you. And by that, I mean, if you side with me with this motion, I'll side with you on this motion. And you know what? That's how you get things done. You compromise, you know what I mean? And that's where your ego or your lack thereof comes into play. It becomes a powerful tool for you.
Yeah, it does. I guess the only fear then with that is, how do you avoid rubber stamping things you don't want to do if it comes down to compromising? Or I guess that's literally just part of what has to happen.
To a certain extent, yes, but you have your values also, you know what I mean? And you have your constituents you're beholden to. So, there's lines you won't cross if you have any values.
Right.
Like I would not go out of my way and, destroy a political opponent's, I would not go out of my way and destroy political opponents' pamphlets or promotional material just because I don't like them.
Wait,
that's
did that happen?
That way. It might have been done by someone or not. You can just Google it, you know what I mean? But that's not the kind of values I have. Because at at the end of the day, I'm here for myself, the people that I represent, which is, people that look like you, like me, like myself, like my family, my friends. It's a little bit of everything. And that's just not in my values. You know what I mean?
So, what do you think are the most important issues that you have deduced from the Snowdon land through your street investigations?
Well, there's a lot more to come, actually, because I'm in contact with a lot of people, some business owners, some homeowners, some residents. One thing I've noticed a lot is the neglect. It's blatant. You know what I mean? Again, 39 years of the same individual representing the area, and there's literally within the same district huge disparities between the west and the east side of the Dakari. You know what I mean? Huge neglect. So it's about uplifting the entire borough, the entire district, and not just playing favorites. You know what I mean? And
So
I
you're
think
saying care more about the NDG side and less about the Cotonou side?
yeah, that's literally what it looks like when you go there. That's literally what.
I mean, like that to me, Dakari's the cutoff point. Like, I mean, I know you're still kind of NDG at Snowdon, but you're basically Cotonou right after. So, like, it's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
But like, that's fair. So how do you do that? Like, I saw some pictures of look at what other boroughs are doing, and I'm like, say word. Does that one have its street name and lights up top? Like, what are some of the stuff you would like spearhead to actually like improve it? Given you've been talking, thinking a little bit, give us a little taste of an initiative you would run.
So for now, I've been talking about it a little bit, and the campaign is just getting started. It officially doesn't start till September, so this is like the pregame. And one thing I've noticed was one thing I've noticed is I look around the surrounding boroughs. What has been done in Villeray, what has been done in Plateau, what has been done in the Sud-Ouest. And then I look at our borough and I'm like, you know what? There's stuff that doesn't make sense. And what is the inexpensive quick fix, right? And that's simple. It's, better garbage cleanup, benches, for people to walk and sit and make it an inviting area. And also the lights, the lighting. Okay, so specifically for the lighting, I put the example of what's been done on Monk Boulevard in Villemar. And in Villemar, what they did was they put the lights at St. Patrick and Monk, and it basically creates like an entrance. It creates a visual entrance. It also adds light, so there's the safety factor, and it makes it more appealing and it makes it more inviting to walk on the area. Putting something like that at, let's say, Victoria or Queen Mary designates that area specifically as a commercial area, like a little booming area, an area where you want to go, an area that's exciting, just in terms of getting people to go to, let's say, Queen Mary or Victoria and take Instagram pictures and say like, look, I'm here, look. Just to get that, it's foot traffic that you're bringing in. You know what I mean? And that's something those two areas need badly because of various reasons, such as construction, such as neglect, such as, the lacking investment in infrastructure, their sidewalks, all that fun stuff. So I think it's very important to actually beautify our commercial arteries. That's huge. If you don't beautify them, if you don't make them more inviting, you're not going to want to go. I'll give you an example. It's not a commercial artery, but it's a big mall in Côte-des-Neiges, Plaza Côte-des-Neiges. No one wanted to go to Plaza Côte-des-Neiges 20 years ago because of how it looked. And in the last 5 years, look how much better it's gotten. It's a lot more inviting. People are going in.
I have no idea what it looks like because of what it used to look like.
Exactly. It's a lot different. I swear you, go. It's worth it. It's a lot different than what it used to be. And if you don't, I'll put pictures on it on Instagram and Facebook. Don't worry.
I'm like, yeah, I mean, I want to go, but I don't know that I really want to go just to look at how the mall got renovated.
You'll be like, wow, change.
So we got a comment, though, that said they don't agree with the Monk thing in terms of the lights. It isn't more inviting. It's just like the last cheap place in the city. Fair enough, but I guess it's an effort to...
Nah.
So, okay, here's a flip to that question then. Is that not the risk of gentrification increasing over some of these efforts?
I mean, the alternative is leaving it the way it's always been for the last 39 years. And don't you think that the residents deserve a little bit more love from the borough? Don't you think they deserve less neglect? Don't you think that people that live in that area deserve just as much TLC from city center and from the borough offices than everyone else? Why should the people there live in basically the conditions that we've been in for the last years?
I'm gonna argue there's a difference between fixing the road and making it like insta nice. Those are not fully. There's a middle ground in there where like there is a middle ground is all I'm saying. Because as a person who lives there, I'm going, hold up. Do we really want to go that far with it? Do I want the streets paved? Kind of, yeah. Actually, I never thought about it till today. It's kind of whack how bad the streets are. Yo, they just did a patch too. Like it was like, I don't know, you could walk through the whole patch in about 27 seconds. So it wasn't a very long patch of fielding. And I'm like sitting there going, okay, fair enough on that point. And I'm not saying that beautifying it's not an issue. I mean, like, it's happened, but then we can also look at the consequence on Monkland of like what happens, and they're trying to do stuff like that on Summerled, and so there's an impact of going too far, in my opinion, with the beautification across everything. However, I'm not hating it at Snowdon personally, because that's really not right where I'm at. It's all the way over there, and it feels like it should be kind of commercial, but I don't know. Do you feel there's like a balance then that has to be maintained between those factors, I guess?
Absolutely, balances have to be maintained, but at the same time, we're in a capitalist system, and there's only so much we could do. That doesn't mean that we cannot help and provide support to existing commercial tenants. That doesn't mean that we cannot provide support to residential tenants as well. It all goes hand in hand with the evolution of an area. I mean, if the money isn't spent, I would ask that person that's watching, if the money isn't spent on,
To be fair, the follow-up question was mine. I was curious.
All right, well, if the money isn't spent on visually appealing items to spruce up the borough, where do you think all that money is going to go? Because it'll be spent on something we won't know where it's spent on. You know what I mean? Like, we won't see the actual impact.
So, and I'm asking this now because I'm curious. So if I hear what you're saying is effectively it's better to use the money in direct ways like that than in corrupt ways.
I mean, I never said that.
I'm paraphrasing, but but like, okay, not corrupt in the darkest of ways, but in less transparent ways that could be corrupt, because it's not transparent.
Allegedly, so forth and so on, right?
Fair enough. I understand there are legal implications to slanderous claims. I'm not trying to be slanderous. I'm trying to understand the mentality behind it, because that's what people are going to think about. That's the truth of it.
I mean, you gotta look at the state of Snowdon, generally speaking, Victoria, Queen Mary, and ask yourself, where is the money being spent? It doesn't matter if you don't want to vote for me. That's fine.
I got told it was Monkland. Everybody says they spend it on Monkland.
No, but you got to ask yourself, where is all the money being spent that the borough is giving to city center? The borough is giving to the city offices of the borough. Like, it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
Are you saying that like there's a budget for the Snowdon area in particular that is separate than, say, where Monkland's money goes, that in theory should be going into that part of it that like isn't happening or isn't transparent, or we don't understand where it's going?
So there's budget, there's the borough budget, and that in itself is incredibly nebulous document that you have to fight tooth and nail to get a copy of, and even at that you get the Coles Note version of it. So I cannot fully answer that question for you, but the money that gets sent to the borough then gets sent to city center, and then the city center takes some of that money to spread it out to other boroughs, and then sends us back our money and says, here, this is X amount is what you get, and that's what you get to spend. And then that amount is divided between the districts, and certain projects see the light of day based on whether or not you are on good terms with the person in charge, whether they are elected or unelected, depending on, flavor of the day. So it's a lot of, wheeling and dealing, so to speak. It's a lot of, coming to compromises, trying to find solutions that help everybody. And, it's not that difficult if you have minimal people skills to actually start a conversation about wanting to change something in a specific given area. You know what I mean? You gotta want to have the conversation. If you're standoffish, if you have zero interest in working with others, you're not going to do anything for the borough.
That's fair. I'm not gonna say I know who's standoffish or not, but I get the feeling from your frustration that maybe people might be standoffish that are currently in power, and we should all think about that as we go into voting. Yeah, I don't even know how I would learn who's standoffish. How do you find out more about like is I guess there's those actual city council meeting things that y'all probably do that actually are real things.
Exactly. Exactly. If you actually attend city council meetings, if you watch them online, if you happen to have
Say
friends
word.
that work,
I didn't even know they were online. I just found out today I could watch city council meetings online.
if you happen to have friends that work at the borough offices within earshot of things, if you happen to have friends of friends that are in the area every single day, that I'm a people person. I know a lot of people. That's just how I am naturally speaking, for absolutely no reason whatsoever, on a completely set aside the whole politics. And so, you know, you you get to know what some people's working styles are like. And at the end of the day, you kind of figure out what works best for certain people and what shouldn't work for them.
That's fair. Um, so as far as like, what is the difference between a pre-campaign and a campaign? What starts in September with the campaign?
So the difference is we're doing stuff already, and everybody has said, "Oh, damn, everybody's running. Let's start running." It's no, I'm kidding. We are basically just in pre-campaign mode, which is, it's a more a more relaxed version of campaign. We're going out there, we're meeting and greeting people, we're talking to the people in the parks, we're talking to the business owners. That's our thing. You know what I mean? We don't need to do Zoom meetings with associations in order to speak to people from different cultures, because we are the different cultures. We are our party as a whole connected with these
Say
individuals from
word.
different.
That's a shots fired if I ever heard one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't have to talk to an association to understand the needs. I will talk to them. Don't get me wrong. I will talk to them. I will make time for them. I will go visit them. But I don't need to initiate a conversation about the needs of the people by talking to their representatives. I am the people. I work with the people. My family, benefits from these services. My family is still in the borough. My family uses all the borough services. You know?
Yeah, that's nifty. So like, once the campaign starts, it's just this, but more of it. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
what the actual difference is, or is it just that y'all started early and then everyone's doing it now, and now everyone's just campaigning because of Ballarama? I'm not saying because of, but like, y'all were
I don't,
out there taking your pics and doing your, we're running, we're here. But to be fair, I've been hearing like Cordair smack talking and whatnot earlier in the year. Like, it's not exactly, like, everyone wants you to know there's an election this year since way earlier this year in a way that I've never seen before. And I guess it matters now because you have new competition for attention, as we found out today. How do you
yeah.
think the federal election that decided to come earlier than your election is going to impact things with this election?
So I think I had the notification here. I think it said the 20th.
Well,
She's
we're
calling
gonna.
election September 20th. Yeah.
He's
See, I
going
have
on Sunday to dissolve Parliament to do whatever is what I read.
so you see his election is called for the 20th. So the 20th of September. That means we're gonna have like about a month basically of campaigning, and then there's an election. Do you understand? So the federal election will be done before our thing is done, which is November 7th.
That's fair. But you now have to get, and I'm saying this realistically because that was my first thought, and I don't know if it's just concerns, but I was wondering about it. I'm like, say a word. How am I gonna get anybody give a shit about me interviewing local politicians if they're only gonna care about federal people for the next like while? But then after that, there's like 2-3 weeks of post-election blah 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 bleeds, and then people are gonna like be like, oh yeah, there's a Montreal election. Like I don't know. Like it seems like it's one of those big ones where it's like. That seems like a hard thing to cut through the noise of. I'm not saying you can't. I'm not even saying it's going to even be a challenge. Maybe everyone's just so worked up on elections it just works in your favor, and you're like, we're here too.
Yeah. So in Quebec, the national elections for municipalities are all on November 7th. So luckily we're not the only municipality that's going to be in elections. There's going to be people in Laval that are running, people in Longueuil that are running. Same election day, November 7th.
Oh, like the whole province's big city areas are going to be doing this.
Well, it's the election. If you Google it, you'll see the elections are basically, they take place on November 7th for municipalities in all of Quebec. And so we're going to have the benefit of, the entire province realizing that we're still in elections after the federal elections happen. So it might die down a little, the interest in between now and September 20th, which is fair. I mean, it's going to take up a lot of media coverage, but that doesn't mean that, nothing is happening on the ground. That's going to be a great time for us to regroup, focus, re-energize, and strategize, and build out of, build from there. It might just end up being to our advantage that there is a federal election that was called, and that is going to be, contested on, in less than 6 weeks. I think at this point, like 5 weeks.
Ah, man, I don't know. He said, I'm doing this with the minimum number of days legal so I can go. This is Holden projecting his thoughts. So I can go get my majority government because wah. And then everyone's like, I don't know if I want that, including Canadians. And it didn't matter. And I'm like, it's not a good look. I mean, it might be legitimate, but it's not a good look.
It's definitely gives you a lot to think about for this election and next. I mean, for a party that promised so much to get elected and then failed delivering a lot of what it promised, including reforming election laws, it's a bit of a disappointment. And that's all I'll say for federal elections.
That's fair. So, I guess, do you have any, like, no one wants to have an election just popped up in the comments. That's facts. No one wants this one. We want the Montreal one. I think everyone wants the Montreal election, though. I think that one we do really want.
I mean, it's going to be exciting no matter which way you look at it. You know what I mean? For the first time ever, there's a party that's actually out there representing what actual Montrealers look like. We have the same number of candidates that are male and female. We have candidates with very different social and ethnic backgrounds. You know, we have candidates with different experiences that bring different things. We have business owners. We have community outreach workers. We have, you got paralegals. You got a little bit of everything. You know what I mean? And I think that's the exciting part about our campaign and where we're bringing it. You know, we're doing things differently, and you're either going to like it or you're going to hate it. And it's okay if you don't like it. But you know what? If you do, keep watching. It's going to get better.
I just want to see you guys go break the rules and not be boring. That's my only concern about everybody in this, is so many of the politicians do boring things because they like the suburban more than they care about anyone else.
I hear you. I mean, personally for me, I'll actually tell you right now. I haven't told many people, but you actually kind of touched on this topic at your last podcast with Christian, and like I was gonna text you like stop talking about this, but I'll tell you right now. So if elected, one of my promises is to hold I'm gonna be basically available by doing like a Zoom session podcast every week for half an hour, which is like office hours. You know, I'm here for the next hour, half an hour, depending on the schedule. So people can reach me because I'm modern. You know, I'm 35 years old. It's 2021. I think that you should be able to reach your city councillor by other means than just by email or phone or calling 311. You know, I think that you need to be able to know how to get a hold of them. You know, and part of what I'm going to do is not just do that after the elections. If elected, I actually plan on hosting my own little Zoom cast where I'm going to have my teammates from the NDG Cotenage team and my fellow candidates that are running in other districts. And I'm going to be, interviewing them for, everybody else to look at and everybody else to basically say, hey, who is this person? What do they want to do? Because, that's the only way that I'm going to get to meet different people outside of my circle, other than meeting them. And it's going to be kind of hard to meet people physically and in person during Corona times, They'll be less willing to meet. So
there's also like hitting the streets isn't really a great way to meet everyone. I know it's like a weird thing to say, but like I mean, you're only going to hit the people that, let's say you go out in the daytime, hypothetically. I'm not saying you do 9 to 5 and you guys do this like every single time type of thing. Well, you're never going to run into me in the streets because when you're going to see me, I'm at home, I'm at work, and a lot of things like that. So there's like entire populations of people that you're not going to meet on the ground and pound tactics. I don't even think it's the biggest reflection. I think it's like a small percentage of people. Like you'll get random, but like you're not going to get a reflection of like people. And that's why I'm like fascinated by how to blend the internet with all of this and like how to create it. Like I'm like, yo, why aren't politicians trying to be influencers more? I don't mean it like influencers in the sense of like social media personalities, but the tactics that influencers use to connect with people are pretty powerful.
I agree. You need to be out there. You need to connect with people, and this is one of the ways you do it. Especially it's 2021. You know, and that's why I'm going to do the podcast. It's something that's important. It's something to make myself available to people because I'm not just running to potentially get elected to then vanish and not talk to anybody and not represent them, you know, and serve my own interests. No, I'm there to actually be available to, you know what I mean? As a paralegal, you're basically available to the people that you work with all the time. You know, you get a cool little iPhone that you get to bring it home so you can be bothered during your time out of office. You know, being the guy that works more than 9 to 5 is just who I've always been. And it's just ingrained in me. And that's what I'm trying to bring to politics in the sense that, you know, if your garbage isn't being picked up, if your street's dirty, if your speed bumps aren't being painted properly so that they're visible, you know, if parking issues are starting to happen on your street, if cars are speeding by, you know, you want to know that you can send me a message and not only will you reach me, but you can also like digitally reach me and watch me and ask me questions live like this in this format. And I think it's very important, you know. There's no reason why there's no reason why in 2021 we have to do the city councillor job the same way it's been done for the last 50 years.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't know how it's been done, but everything in bureaucracy doesn't make sense 50 years ago, so it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, like it seems like some of these efforts are being done differently. Like they're bringing up Alexandra OAC. I don't remember how to say her last name. And how I just picturing her playing Among Us with a bunch of YouTubers and shit, and like all these kinds of stuff. But like they're really powerful because it forces you to be in a position. Because honestly, I think the biggest issue isn't really like qualifications for the job or what you do when you get there. The hardest part of it is like, yo, I don't know how much I care once you're elected. I care until you're elected. And that's maybe like a bad thing for me as a person. But like I just assume you get elected and then it goes into secret mode because you're probably not really going to be able to talk about everything. So you can kind of allude to stuff. So it kind of gets a little more detached. But I suppose there's a way, if you are able to, I guess, make yourself more present for us all the time. It's honestly like pre-campaigning for the following year because you're just always there.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, like I said, I've been a workaholic. I'm the guy that likes to mingle. I'm the guy that enjoys, contrary to Christian Arsenault. Shout out to Christian. I love networking, and you know why? Because I love people. I love talking to people. I love hearing their stories. I love hearing how, you know, I love learning from people. You know what I mean? And so, being out there and you know and networking and hearing people's issues and being empathetic and not taking their anger personally and just putting myself in their shoes and saying, okay, you've been done wrong, you've been let down, how can this change, and let me get back to you with a proper solution. That's how I see me doing the job. You know, I'm not going to be the guy that's going to say, yeah, sure, email me and I'll email you back in 2-3 weeks, or you're going to have to follow up and, you know, harass me or show up to the meetings to get an answer. You're going to get an answer from me, regardless. You're going to get, at the very minimum, a courtesy reply, like within minutes of sending me an email saying, hey, this is an issue. You know why? Because that's just the individual I am. That's just how I've always worked as a person. You know, it's like you're beholden to your employers. And in my case, my employers are the people. So it's just more of the same for me, is what I'm trying to say.
That's fair. So outside of the beautification of Snowdon to increase commercial district traffic, what are some of the other things you care about trying to pull off while you're there?
So I want to we want to find a way to beautify the parks, and what that means is working together with current blue-collar workers to find a solution that allows them to do their job, the job that they're doing to the best of their abilities right now, properly. Because after going to the parks with Matthew Kerr and I went to a bunch of parks, and we started visiting them and looking to see, what can change. Why is it that parks are in the conditions that they're in? And the overwhelming response we got after speaking to some employees, and including a supervisor, was that, les effectifs ne sont pas bien utilisés. The people that, the blue collar workers, they don't feel like they're supported enough. You know what I mean? And so one thing I want to do is work together with them for them to have the proper support to beautify their parks, to clean up the parks. I want to have a solution within the borough to buy more garbage bins, like proper garbage bins, not pay the ones that are $800, which is what the ones that they have in parks right now cost. If you go to a garbage bin at the park, it costs $800. That makes no sense. You know what I mean? And, find a solution to do that. I also want to find a solution to...
Why do they cost $800? Like, why are they so expensive?
I don't know. That's one thing I want to find out. And I want to find out where it's bought, who we buy it from, and why we keep paying that much money for a single garbage can. Because I was also told that the bench that people sit on at the park costs $1,200. And I'm pretty sure that if with the buying power that we have as a city and as a borough, we can find better. We can find better prices, we can find better quality, and we could just do overall better for the people. Because it makes no sense to be paying those prices. That's like going to Supermarché Metro or something in Westmount and saying, this is what I want. I'm going to pay $17 for this grapefruit because that's just what it costs. When you can buy grapefruit for a lot less. Horrible example now that I'm looking back and thinking about it. But, at the end of the day, you got to shop around a little is what I'm trying to say,
I'm pretty sure the people of Snowdon appreciated your job at the people of Westmount. That's dope still. That's not a bad idea. What about eco-friendly initiatives beyond park cleanup?
So another issue that you see is that there's not enough recycling bins that have the recycling, garbage, and other, the three bin monster that you see in a lot of boroughs. When you visit other boroughs, you'll see that they're properly spaced between garbage, recycling, and plastic. I think it's plastic, metal, and garbage. Anyway, so putting more of these bins that allow you to do more than just throw garbage is going to help a lot also in the reduction of waste. Because not only do you have more places to put the waste, be it recyclable or not, but it's also going to look better. Because what we have right now is just open air garbage cans where, critters at night can go in and throw everything around. So there's that can make a huge impact on our recycling. There's also promoting composting everywhere and making sure that whoever wants to compost, whoever wants to have that little brown bin, they can have the brown bin, and I'll make sure of it. They call me and they need one, they'll get it.
What about like compost bins in the park? And okay, so composting's a big one. My building now has compost bins. Nobody in my building but my angry girlfriend who likes to complain about it whenever she takes the compost down. Compost right. They're using plastic bags, and there's a huge education issue. So we currently have a very shittily implemented compost system. They just said do it, and that is the literal worst way to implement a compost system. And now they have these little ones, and they're little ones because they look like students, knocking on my door asking me about composting, and I'm like, there's no way they're not doing it. They are not convincing a human being, these two little ladies that came to my door, to go compost. They're not convincing a soul. Okay, there's no salesperson up in there. You're going against like people that want to throw their trash out like they've been throwing their trash out forever. My girlfriend just said I signed up to be a bin inspector because I'm so annoyed. Because it's really that bad right now. And if it's in my building, it's in all the buildings. So how do we actually educate NDG on how to compost correctly?
I think it's part of it comes by educating people and using existing resources available to you. So promoting it on groups such as Thrive NDG, fighting link. Yeah, I know. I'm in admin. I got to shout them out. They're a great bunch. You know, we're all in it together. You know.
They're apparently the NDG group that doesn't delete your posts and censor your posts.
I mean, I know I don't.
I don't know.
Uh,
Somebody tried to tell me to join another NDG group, but they're like, but they'll censor and delete you. And I'm like, well, why do I want to join that group? The guy's like, for reach. And I'm like, but you said they're going to censor and delete me. I don't want to go there. That sounds terrible.
um, so that's it. Using existing resources. So, you know, posting on groups such as Thrive and other community groups for the area, as well as doing educational videos. You know what I mean? It's better, especially during Corona times, to do a YouTube, to link it to like the Borough YouTube channel and say, hey, this is how you compost properly. And you know what? Kind of use maybe humor a little bit and use, you know, local comedians to make something like that happen, because it'll be memorable and people will say, oh, yeah, I saw that video about composting. So and so was in it. And he did something memorable with it because he made it funny, he made it interesting. Because, you know, not everybody wants to read that little paper that says this is how you compost. Go to this link to find out more information. Call this number. Some people are visual. Some people want.
Nobody wants to read that paper. I'm going to throw it out there. Like, it's useful paper, and I read the stupid paper, but my desire to read the paper was not very high.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you read it when you had a chance after you forgot that you had it.
No, my girlfriend she wrote out what you can compost and what you can't compost and taped it to the thing, and then basically was like, don't compost that. I didn't have a choice, man. But you know what? Like, it's kind of like, it's that hot in Montreal that we should all take this stuff a lot more seriously, because it ain't going to get less hot next year. And yeah, actually, just a side concern. Is there like at all an idea or a plan or even a conversation at the city level about the fact that most of us are not able to air condition in these buildings in certain parts of town because the stuff like our windows aren't sealed right, thus air conditioning isn't as effective and the buildings just aren't prepared to deal with the upcoming heat waves over the next 5-6 years? Is that even a conversation? I had that epiphany as my windows aren't sealed correctly and my air conditioner doesn't do the job it's in theory supposed to do. And I imagine in lots of parts of Montreal that's more the norm than not.
Yeah, so I think you're absolutely right that it's only going to get warmer and warmer, and having proper functioning AC is definitely key. I myself have 2 ACs at my place. You know, it's you walk in, it's a walk-in cooler. You know, that's how I keep my place, because it's just, when it's heat waves, that's how I keep it, because that's how I like it. Like, I heat up too quickly. But this isn't about, sorry. There's no conversation that I know of per se, but that doesn't mean that a conversation can't be started in regarding the increase in temperature and due to global warming and fluctuating temperatures, and what can the city do to provide relief. I know that the city provides relief in terms of extending pool hours, making sure that cooling stations exist, such as those kid parks that have like water fountains and everything. You just go in and it's like misty and everything. I forget the proper term of what those are called, but anyway, so the city provides cooling stations. But there's no actual plan to like subsidize, let's say, ACs or subsidize fans. Could there be? Possibly. Just yesterday, we heard during the campaign debate, one of the candidates, not my guy, but one of the candidates said, I'd like to install a $500 credit to entice people to bike and to buy biking equipment and exercising equipment. And that's a great idea. But how come we can't use something like that to maybe entice, AC, maybe not AC, but like fans, like something, to help people.
I think we need the AC. Well, it's more of a concern of AC because, you go to Florida and everything is AC. Like, it's like central air is kind of built into home construction in a way that it's not, like, because if you go to NDG, these are old-ass buildings not built for this heat, and I'm in one of them. So I'm sitting there going, my building isn't built for this heat, let alone air conditioning, right? My door, there's a little crack in the living room where you can see the sun come through where the door, I'm saying there are problems bigger than a fan can solve, and I'm not saying it's the city's responsibility to solve it. But I just got curious. It's been hot all week. It is very hot in my room.
Yeah, I know it's very hot. I'm the only reason I'm not sweating bullets during this interview, and you would see it, is because my AC's on.
But
You know?
yeah, no, I mean, I guess it's just something to bring up in your housing just debates and such. Are there like actual debate things? Are there like public debates happening? Is that a thing we can participate in?
So yesterday there was something there was a debate at what is called the Institut du Nouveau Monde, and Le Journal Le Devoir was the one that put that together. And you had 4 candidates that are running for mayor. Not all the candidates that are running for mayor and presented slates were present, but 4 of them were. And in that debate, basically, people 35 and under submitted questions, and those questions were were asked to the people that were running, including Balarama and the competition. There's going to be another debate. That debate was in French. There's going to be an English debate as well, and it's coming soon. Follow my page, follow my Snowdon candidacy page, and you'll see all the highlights. All the debates that are coming. I'm going to make sure to post them. But there will be probably like maybe 1 or 2 more debates. Assume that a big French one that's going to be televised will be made, and there's going to be another English one. But
What
for
about
now,
like at this level?
like face to face, meet the people. I would love to debate my
Like,
people running against me in Snowdon.
how do we get this going in the park?
If anybody that's running in Snowdon is watching, or their representatives, go right ahead and contact me after this interview if you'd like, and I'm more than willing to meet you and your team to debate in the park, to bring the issues to the people, to let them know who the person behind the name is, because I think it's important. If you really want to represent people, if you really want to be the person that's their go-to person, you kind of got to meet them. You kind of got to show them why you got to be that person for them. You kind of got to win their trust, not just based off the name of the person that referred you and said, vote for this person or X person. You kind of have to win it for yourself, right? And so I don't think there's a better way to do it than a debate. Unfortunately, debates don't happen at the city council level.
Why?
But I'm more than ready and willing to do it. They just don't happen. It's nothing that's ever happened. That doesn't mean it can't not happen, right?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll fucking set it up. Well, I mean, I'll post. I'll go make noise. I don't know that people will play ball, but I'm happy to go do what I got to do to make noise.
Councillor debates in the park, Snowdon Park. Let's do it at let's do it at a park in Snowdon. I mean,
we could do it. Parks in Snowdon are not the, but honestly, your moves are Trent Holm and Girard for this type of thing is what I'm saying. Maybe Confederation. You gotta like be tactful with your park choice. like I'm trying to think of like what park in the Snowdon area is like not just full of kids and not the right vibe.
There's there's McDonald and there's,
McDonald is a park. That is a good park. I accept.
McDonald and Van Hoor Park would probably be 2 parks that would be interesting in terms of size and people that you could reach. Especially, there's also Mackenzie King Park. That park is wonderful to have people, because you have a lot of the Filipino community, a lot of the South Asian community that's there during weekends, barbecuing, just living life, enjoying it, And to host a debate there, I think it would be an amazing opportunity for whoever ends up doing it. I mean, I'm down. Are you guys down?
I mean, I'm down. I wanted to stream that. So let's get it. I'll host that. That's all I'm saying. I'm neutral.
There we go.
I just want to see. I want to see some feisty conversations about real issues. It's one thing to talk to individuals, and y'all are gonna present your case, and I'm like, fair enough. But then watching y'all go at each other's different, because that's like, I'm out of that. It's not me. I get to just mediate at that point. And I'm like, straight word, I can mediate. That's simple enough. But yo, float that idea. Go tell Balarama. Go get this little city councillor. Egg on your competition, guys.
I don't need the authorization of my party leader to put myself out there. He knows who he selected to run in the party in the district. He trusts the person he selected. I don't have to go to communications director to get their approval to show up at an event like this, you can Zoom so that it's available to even more people if you like. And the 3 of us running, or the 4 of us, or whoever else that's running, 5, there might be another candidate, who knows, that's running in Snowdon, I'd do it. And then you could replicate the formula elsewhere with other boroughs. I'm 100% down, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know how to. I mean, I suppose it's just reaching out to everyone. That's fine. That's all logistics and boring stuff. That is always the worst part of event planning. I'm not really into event planning as much, but it is what it is. But yeah, that would be really exciting. Do you have like anything else that you want to share with the peoples?
You know what? Snowdon is cruelly missing dog parks. Snowdon misses dog parks. They need dog parks. Myself being an owner of a dog, I used to have 2 dogs. Shout out to Lola, the best dog I ever had, because now I have one, but you know, she was the best dog I ever had. My girl, she changed my life. But you know, all dogs deserve to have a dog park to play in. And whether it's, I'm looking at McDonald Park. There's an area in McDonald Park that I think would be wonderful for it. I'm also looking at a section of Van Horn Park that I think could fit a dog park. And I'm also looking at Rosemary Brown Park, which is right away from the Carry. As a dog owner, as a lover of dogs, as a lover of animals, cats, etc., I think that the borough needs something like that. I think that the borough needs dog love, you know, and it needs to show it in the form of dog parks in Snowdon. There's no reason why it shouldn't have a dog park. Every other borough has some. Every other parts of the borough has some. And to me, that's one thing. If elected, I'm going to definitely make sure to give dogs out there, you know, because my dog Dexter, he needs play friends, you know, so Dexter's going to need play friends at the dog park. And
we just got a great comment from Ron Pogge over on Facebook that said cat park, and I'm going, you know, if you do bring the first cat park into the area, you may have a huge win.
That, yeah, you know what, cats are great. I don't know how we would possibly do that, but you know, it'd be like one huge cage so that they wouldn't just run away. I don't know.
I threw it in as a joke because it's no, but the dog park stuff's real, and they added the dog park to Loyola, and then I decided I don't like Loyola Park anymore because now it's just dog people talking about dog park stuff, and I'm like, dog politics is boring. It is. If you're not a dog owner in the local community, you do not care about these dog people walking by talking about dog stuff, and it's like, yo, I changed the vibe of the park. I'm like, it's way more like dog people.
I hear you, but that means that there's a need, right? If they're there, it's because there's a need. Because before that, it didn't have that many options. And
no, I'm not trying to be like exclusionary of the dog people community and their problems. I'm just saying, and you know what? I'm not even against the idea of dog parks being there. Dogs are lovely people. I just noticed that, like I was saying, I'm like, yo, it's different now. It's just a different vibe in the park.
yeah, I hear you.
And but no, I mean, it is like progress, I suppose, to see stuff change. So I guess it's nice, like it is a tangible, visible use of money, even if people aren't happy with how it got spent in that regard. But it is a visible use of money.
Exactly, and that's what we want, because we've had 39 years of invisible use of money, and that's just not what we deserve. We deserve accountability, we deserve availability, and we deserve someone that's out there for you, not for them.
That's fair. So all of your links and stuff will be in the description below and all that good stuff. Y'all can go follow his Instagram and his Facebook campaign page where he'll post campaign and non-campaign related pictures. Well, I mean, they're probably all campaign related, but to me, looking at pictures of you eating feels less campaign related. I noticed there's a lot of food selfies that go involved in campaigning, and I'm like, say a word. That seems like a fun part of the job. But
well, you know what? I'm not a small man. You know, I don't wear extra medium, so you know, I like my good food too. So, and I like supporting local business. So, you know, we're out there. We're out there doing our best. And to anybody watching on Saturday at noon, I'm gonna be with Balarama and some of the team members at Côte Sainte Catherine Metro. And from there on out, we're going to be walking in the area. There's going to be some key places that we're going to be visiting. I won't say where because I don't want the competition to show up there before we do, or as they usually do right after. But if you come to Côte Sainte Catherine Metro at noon on Saturday, you'll see us and you'll find out what we're all about in person.
That's fair. How long are you going to be there for the people that can't show up at noon but can show up later than noon?
So I'm going to say this in French for the people that don't know that I speak French. On va être au métro Côte-Sainte-Catherine à midi. À partir de midi, on va faire une tournée du corridor Victoria. On va se promener dans les rues avoisinantes. On va être en train de parler aux gens. On va faire du bouche à oreille. On va faire du meet and greet. Alors, on va pas être au métro tout le temps. Donc, si vous arrivez entre midi et midi et quart au métro Côte-Sainte-Catherine ce samedi, vous allez nous retrouver. Par la suite, on va faire une tournée des rues avoisinantes.
Fair. So 12 to 12:45 at the Met Show, and then they walk around.
12 to 12:15, my man.
See, that, you went in French. I was like, because you said call, and call is one of those words where it's like, whatever. I tried. So yeah, they'll be there. They'll wait up, and then they'll wander around that part of town and visit and do what they got to do. But yeah, I appreciate you coming through. Follow him for all the updates with that. Look forward to his podcast that he'll probably launch regardless what happens.
Coming, man. It's coming. It's the only way you guys are going to get to know me behind the scenes and my team, right? And it's important, It's important.
I think it is important for people to take the effort to get to know you and your candidates. Everyone's like you can reach out and I'll be there for you. And I don't know how many people actually do, but you can reach out to all the peoples and all that good stuff. And then, yeah, we'll be keeping on trying to talk to people. We'll try to set up some debates if that's viable down the line. I feel like we have to wait till after Trudeau's done before we really push that. But on that note, though, I don't have a lot more to say at this moment. It was great having you. Thank you to all the people watching. It's always great to see people show up for it. And thank you all watching in the future, the YouTubes and wherever you catch this. You're also wonderful. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that. On that note, it's been fun. Do you have any final words to the peoples?
Come find out what Movement Montreal is all about. You're going to be surprised. And you're going to love it.
Awesome. So, y'all, live long and prosper, everyone.